Yo, book nerds, today I want to talk about tropes. You may have heard that word thrown around before, but maybe you don't know what it is. Maybe you do. But in case you don't know what it is, I looked up a definition, so I'll just read it to you, because that might make more sense than me trying to explain it. But when I looked it up, it says that a trope in a book is a recurring, recognizable plot device, theme, character type, or pattern used by authors to build stories. So these are common things that authors do to create their story or create a character type, something that happens throughout multiple books, so much so that it's a pattern. There are tons of them. So what I did was I looked up the most common tropes, and we're going to go through them, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about each trope. So one of the most common tropes is enemies to lovers. So that's where two characters start off as enemies, and by the end of the book, they have fallen in love and they're a couple. Maybe they don't start off as complete enemies. Maybe they're just like rivals. There's something is between them, but by the end of the book, they have gone from opposites on opposite teams or rivals or enemies to loving each other. I usually like this trope. I'm going to be honest. I usually enjoy this trope. I think it can be fun. And I mean, my favorite book ever has an enemies to lovers trope, which is Pride and Prejudice. Like Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet, at the beginning, they don't like each other. And by the end, they have the most beautiful romance. So like, I usually enjoy the enemies to lovers, but it has to be believable. Sometimes the conflict at the beginning is too much to overcome, and then it becomes not believable. It has to happen organically. It has to be overcome realistically for it to work. Another example of a trope is forced proximity. This is where two people are stuck together. Like they usually don't like each other, or maybe they don't know each other, and then they are stuck in some situation together very closely, and they get to know each other, and by the end they usually love each other, or maybe they become best friends or something. Some examples might be like two people are stuck in a snowstorm, or two people are stuck sharing a hotel room together and they don't like each other. But basically they're forced to interact. And I don't feel like I have much of an opinion on this trope. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Like, I'm kind of indifferent. It, again, just has to be done well. Fake dating or a fake marriage is another one. We're kind of starting with the romance tropes, I guess. But this is where a fake relationship eventually becomes real. So, like, two people might pretend to date, maybe to make somebody jealous, and then by the end they have fallen for each other. This trope usually works for me. I don't know why. Not necessarily fake marriage, because that seems almost unrealistic, but fake dating, because like, I don't know, it creates interesting situations, because usually like they don't feel romantically at the beginning, so they're pretending, and then there's hijinks, right? And it's entertaining, and then they start to fall for each other for real, and so that usually works for me. Another trope is grumpy sunshine, where one character is super grumpy and grouchy, and the other character is so happy and bubbly and funny and cutesy, and they're like opposites, basically. This trope with this kind of pairing, I, again, am kind of indifferent on this one. I've seen it done well, I've seen it done not so well. As long as the grumpy character isn't so grumpy that they're like annoying and like they're just pessimistic to the point of like, what is your problem? Like, I have to still be able to like the character, I guess, for it to work for me. And also that goes for the sunshine one too, because if they're so bubbly, like they're so over the top, like optimistic, then that also doesn't quite always work for me, I guess. Second chance trope. This is where a couple has been together, they broke up, and then they get back together, right? It's their second chance romance. This one doesn't often work for me, usually because it has to do with the reason that the characters broke up in the first place. Oftentimes, the reason they broke up is something that I would not forgive them for. Like, it has to be something that's like, for it to work for me, it has to be something that is something I would forgive someone for. Like, or like if they grew apart, it just happened, and then they broke up, and then they found their way back to each other. That would work for me. If a character cheated on another, that's not something I'm going to forgive. And so when a character then gets back with them, like, that's a big no-no for me, and I will be angry about it, and I won't like it. So, or there's other things like abuse or just being a horrible human being. Like someone can't be a horrible human being and then it just magically resolves. Like, maybe, but it would have to be done really, really well. Like, it's really hard for me for this one, I guess. In contrast to enemies to lovers, we also have friends to lovers. I like that one. This is where a couple has been friends first, and then it grows into a romantic relationship. As long as, again, as if it's done well, then I like it. I don't really have strong opinions on that one. Now let's get into some non-romance tropes. The chosen one. This is a very common trope in like fantasy or dystopian novels. This is where someone is like the one that's meant to save the day. Like, they are maybe prophesied about, or they're just meant in some way to save the world. And I don't dislike this one. I mean, somebody has to save the world in these books, right? Like, and you're not probably gonna follow somebody that's not saving the world in a dystopian book or a fantasy book, right? Like, I usually enjoy it as long as it's done well and the main character is not like all high and mighty about themselves. Like, I'm so great, I am the chosen one. Like, I like when it's more subtle, like they don't maybe know that they're the chosen one, but they still end up saving the world. Like, that works for me.
Yo guys, I was editing and I realized that I did not talk about a very common trope, not like super common trope, but a common enough trope that I really have strong feelings about. And so I wanted to add it. There's the resurrection trope. And I wanted to talk about this right now because it usually can tie in with the chosen one. But the resurrection trope is where someone dies and they magically come back to life. And it's usually the main character, because of course you can't have your main character die. So by magic, by circumstance, somehow they are resurrected. And usually this does not work for me. If your character dies, then they're dead. I have strong opinions about this one. Very, very rarely do I ever like the resurrection trope. It just feels like a cop-out to me. Like, if you're gonna kill off the character, any character, like, death is a very high stake, obviously. And if you bring them back to life, then it just negates the stakes. Like, then what was the point? Like, there was no risk because they just came back to life. And so, like, I don't necessarily, like, want characters to be killed off unless it's important for the plot or something. But, like, if a character dies, then, like, that's the highest stake, right? And if you have them magically come back to life, then it just negates everything. All the feelings I had about them passing away too, it's just like, oh, never mind, they're back. So it's like, but wait, like it just cheapens it to me. And I just don't like resurrection trope. Don't like it. Nope. So sorry for the interruption, but I needed to add that because I have strong feelings about it. Anyway, back to the video.
Found family. This is when characters kind of create a family, but they're not blood family. Like they're either friends or they're just in circumstances that brings them together and they form a bond that's like a family bond. It's super strong, but it's not a blood bond. So found family, that works for me. I like that trope. I think it's beautiful. Forbidden love / forbidden magic. This is when there is like a love interest that is like forbidden, or there is some kind of magic that's forbidden, and the main character either pursues that romance or pursues learning that magic, even though it's against the rules. I'll be honest, I haven't read a ton of forbidden love or forbidden magic. I don't think I'd be opposed to it, but give me some recommendations, I guess. Slow burn. This is when a relationship develops very slowly throughout the novel. And usually like throughout the novel, there's like intense anticipation and it's just very slow throughout the whole thing. Slow burns can work for me as long as it's not so slow that it's boring or that nothing's happening. Like there has to still be movement, right? It can be slow movement, but it has to be still moving and it has to be interesting. Like we just can't spend 200 pages staring at each other, right? Like it's got to still catch my interest. A lot of classics have slow burns and I love classics, so it's just got to be done at a nice slow pace. Rags to riches. This is when someone goes from being very poor to having a lot of success or a lot of money. Haven't read a ton of rags to riches stories, at least not that are coming to my mind at the moment. Recommend some for me. Small town / return home. This is where the story is set in a small town, or maybe it's like a hometown that the main character has returned to, that they've been away from for a while. And in some way, going to this small town or going home creates some kind of like self-discovery in the main character. They have some kind of realization. Maybe it's a romance and they meet somebody, or maybe they just find out a lot more about themselves and you get some kind of resolution there. I don't have strong opinions about this trope either. Villain redemption. This is when the villain or the antagonist of the story changes by the end and redeems themselves. They've done something to make up for whatever bad things they've been doing throughout the whole book. I like this trope a lot. Like, as long as, again, I keep saying this, as long as it's done well. Like, you can't just have a villain change like that. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, there has to be some kind of logic behind it, some kind of reason that makes sense for their character for me to buy into it. But when it's done well, oh, it's so good. Oh, those redemption arcs that's like, oh, I didn't see it coming usually, and then it happens, but it makes total sense. Like, it's like having an epiphany. Like, these characters, these villains have had some kind of epiphany, and they've had some kind of deep like change, and it's so satisfying. I really like when villains have believable redemption arcs. It's so great. Morally ambiguous characters or morally gray characters. This is when you have characters that are neither good nor bad. They're somewhere in between. I like morally gray characters. They feel realistic to me because people are not all good and people are not all bad. So it's nice to have morally gray characters. I don't really like when a protagonist is like perfect, because then it's hard to relate to them. And when villains are just pure evil, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but it creates, when you have morally ambiguous or morally gray characters, it creates a lot of like layers, because everyone has their reasons for doing things, and it's not black and white. It's not clear cut. Like, it's just cool to see the layers and the like intricate like decisions that people make, and I really enjoy that. Love triangles. People love to hate love triangles. This is where you have like a main character that has two other characters like vying for her interest. So maybe they both like her or him, could go either way. Or it could be that one character likes the main character, but then the main character likes a different character who doesn't feel the same way. So there's kind of two versions of a love triangle. But basically, it's a romance that involves three people in some way, shape, or form. And I want to hate on love triangles because that seems to be the popular thing to do. But it's like one of those kind of guilty pleasures, I guess. Like, I don't know, because I grew up reading Twilight, guys. Like, there is a huge love triangle in that story, and I don't know, I ate it up. And I still kind of do. It just, as long as it's not like one person is just a horrible person and it's like, why would she be interested in this person? Like, I don't know. Or why would he be interested in this person? I keep saying she. But, like, as long as the characters are interesting and there's valid reasons, like, for each character to feel the way they do, even if it's just, like, physical attraction, like, I can be okay with that. But, like, there has to be some kind of reason. It can't just be, I don't know, all thrown together. I don't know if that makes sense. But it is kind of a guilty pleasure. I want to hate on it like everybody does, but I kind of like it. It's kind of like my trashy romances, I guess. I don't read a lot of romance, guys. I don't. But when there's a love triangle, it's like, okay, we're doing this. Like, I don't seek it out, but I don't hate it when it's there, usually. Unless it's just there and has nothing to do with the plot, which occasionally I've found that, like, where there's a love triangle and it's like, why is this even here? It's not necessary to the story at all. Sometimes I have found that. And then that can be annoying. Hidden identity or hidden royalty. This is where a character hides who they are or hides their status. Like, maybe a prince came and he doesn't tell anybody that he's a prince. He just pretends to be a regular person, a commoner. Or maybe someone's a celebrity and they pretend to be just a regular person. I don't really have strong feelings about this either way. Make some recommendations, I guess. And then the last one that I have on my list is dangerous past. This is where there's a character that has some kind of like mysterious or dangerous past that you don't really know much about. They might have secrets, they might have traumatic backstories, something like that that's going on that you might get bits and pieces of throughout the story, but something happened to them and it's a dangerous or dark kind of past. And I, again, don't have super strong feelings about this one. I think as long as it's realistic, it can be done nicely. Like, I don't want trauma for characters just for the sake of shock value, though. There are definitely people that have trauma, don't get me wrong. Like, people have gone through horrible things, and in novels, characters definitely can have gone through horrible things. But just to give a character a dark or dangerous backstory just to shock the reader, I don't necessarily like. But as long as it like has a purpose and there is like meaning to it, then I'm all right with it. Anyway, those were some common book tropes and how I felt about them. Drop down in the comments and let me know which tropes you enjoy, which ones do you hate, which tropes did I leave off my list that you have strong feelings about. We can chat in the comments. That's all I have for you guys today. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.